Yes, welcome. Today we are going to be learning biology. Biology. What is biology? Biology is the study of living organisms. The study of what? Yes, welcome. Today we are going to be learning biology. Biology. What is biology? Biology is the study of living organisms. The study of what? Biology is the study of living organisms or things. So what is biology? Biology is the study of living organisms or things. Living organisms or things. Biology is the study of living organisms or things. What are the things that are living? Human beings like me. Plants and animals, isn't it? Those are the living things. So when you study living things, you're doing what we call biology, the study of living things. You want to know how the living things come about. You understand? How the living things move from being small to big. How do they grow? What makes them to work? How do they survive in their environment? You study it. So whenever you're making such study, you call it what? Biology. You call it what? Biology. The study of living things. So you can also say that biology is the science of life. Biology is the science of what? Life. This word biology came from two Greek words. This word biology came from two Greek words. The first one is bio, and the second one is logos. You understand? And this word bio simply means life. The Greek word bio means what? Life. And logos simply means discourse, isn't it? You can also say it means what? Study. So when you study life, you do what we call biology. That's why we say that biology is the study of living organisms or living things. And we say that biology is the science of life. So biology came from two Greek words, bio and what? Logos. Bio meaning life, logos meaning what? Study. Is that clear? Yes. Now we look at the characteristics of living things. Characteristics of living things. Characteristics of living things. How do you say that something? You say that biology is the study of living things, isn't it? So how do you identify a living thing when you say it? So that when you study it, you know that you're doing biology. How do you differentiate a living thing from a non-living thing? So we differentiate them using their what? Characteristics. Using their what? Characteristics. So we're going to look at those characteristics. Number one characteristic of living thing is movement. 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 Movement simply means motion from one place to the what? Other. It could be a movement of body parts. Like you see, plants, do they move from one place to the other? But animals move from one place to the other. But plants have other ways of making their movement by growth or by movement of its parts. You understand? Whereas animals do locomotive movement from one point to the other. So both plants and animals move. Is that clear? Then number two is what we call respiration. Number two is what we call what? Respiration. So respiration simply means taking in air, isn't it? You take in air because air do a lot of work in our body. We need oxygen in our body, isn't it? So all those things, for you to be able to do respiration, all living things do respiration. So whether it's plants or animals, you have to do respiration. Whether it's plants or animal, there has to be what? Respiration. Respiration simply means taking in air. Then the other characteristics of living thing is what? Nutrition. Nutrition. Food is necessary for life to go on. Food is necessary for what? life to go on. We animals, we eat food, isn't it? We need this food to supply us energy. Without energy, I cannot be talking to you. I will not have energy to do my work. So I need food to be burnt in my system in order to produce energy, which I use in working. Isn't it? When you get tired, you will not be able to listen to my lectures because you lack energy. So for you to get energy, you need what? Food. You need nutrition. So movement from one point to the other, respiration, when you take in air, you understand? To supply what? Oxygen to the body. Then we need nutrition. Nutrition is, we talk about food, isn't it? Because from the food, that's where we get what? Energy. Even plants need energy for them to carry out their own activities, metabolic activity and other activities. Then number 4 is what we call irritability. Number 4 is what? Irritability. What is irritability? That's ability of a living thing to respond to stimulus. Irritability is the ability of a living thing to do what? Respond to stimulus. Then number 5 is what we call growth. Number 5 is what? Growth. Growth. What is growth? Increase in size, isn't it? Increase in size. So every living thing has to grow. It increases in size, whether it's plants or animal. When you are born, you used to be a kid, isn't it? Small time you become a teenager and then an adult. So that is growth. So let's continue. So number 6 is what we call excretion. Removal of toxic waste. Removal of what? Metabolic waste. Things that your body don't need. Those things that could cause sickness from your body, you need to do what? Excrete them. Like sweat. You see, when you're running around, you'll be sweating. You understand? When you're pressed, you go to the toilet, you ease yourself, isn't it? Excretion, removal of waste products. That's an important aspect of the characteristics of living things. Then number 7 is what we call what? Reproduction. Number 7 is reproduction. Reproduction, ability to give new ones, isn't it? Reproduction is the process whereby young ones of a given living organism are being brought to life, isn't it? Reproduction is another characteristic of living things. Then there's other ones like adaptation. That's the ability for a given organism to survive in a given environment. Is that clear? Adaptation, very, very important. Then we'll talk about competition. Competition. You understand? Living things, they tend to struggle anywhere they are. Like human being, you compete for food, isn't it? You compete for job opportunities. You compete for many things. Things are not easily gotten. You have to compete with fellow organisms for you to get what you want. Then finally, we have what we call death. Death. Every living organism dies after some time, whether it is plant or what? Animal. After some time, they do what? They pass out. So that's it. So those are the characteristics of living things. There is a summary that we used to use then. They call it Mr. What? Mr. Niger Diva. Is it? Where the M stands for what? Movement. Isn't it? R stands for what? Respiration. N stands for what? Nutrition. Isn't it? I stands for irritability. G stands for growth. E stands for excretion. R stands for what? Reproduction. And D stands for what? Death. So those are the basic characteristics of living things. Except that we added adaptation and what? Competition. So anything that has these characteristics could be called living thing. Anything that has these characteristics could be called what? Living thing. And that's why plants and animals are living things. Because both plants and animals exhibit all these characteristics. Is that clear? Is that clear? Good. Yeah. Welcome back to another biology class. Today we are going to be learning levels of organization of life and its complexity. Levels of organization of life and its what? Complexity. Levels of organization of life. We have 4 levels of organization of life. We have how many levels? 4 levels. Number 1 is what we call the first level. And this first level we have the word cell. The first level we have the word cell. Number 2 is what we call the second level. And this number 2 level is the word tissue. Number 3 is what we call the third level. And this level is known as the word organ. And lastly, we have the word fourth level, known as the word system. So those are the levels that we have in life. So every organism is either you are the system of the cell, at the level of the cell, tissue, or what? Organ, as well as system. So first level is the cell. Is that clear? And it's made up of 1 or more cells. Organisms at this level are made up of 1 or more what? Cells. And what is a cell? Cell is the smallest single unit of life. Cell is what? Cell is the smallest single unit of life. That's what cell is. An example of organisms or parts of organisms at this level are, number 1, we have what we call spermatozoa. You understand? Spermatozoa is still at the cell level. You know that one thing come out from the sperm cells, isn't it? When the sperm cells meets with the ovum, isn't it? From the woman. When the sperm cell meets with the cell of the woman, the basic cell of the woman, then you start having a human being coming out, isn't it? Now we have what we call red blood cells. Red blood what? Cells. It's still at the cell level. You know, red blood cell is part of the blood, isn't it? It's one part of the blood, one type of the blood. Now we talk about the ovum. What is the ovum? What is ovum? Is that not the reproductive cell of the woman that meets with the spermatozoa in order to form the fetus, isn't it? So all of them are still at the first level of cell organization, known as the cell. The first level of organization of life, known as cell. Exactly. So the cell is very small. So other examples are things like plasmodium. What is plasmodium? Plasmodium, spermatozoa, ovum, red blood cells. So all these are in the first level. The first level normally have very large surface area to volume. Large surface area to volume ratio for the first level of organization of life. Now we talk about the second level, the tissue. So how do you come about the tissue? The tissue come about when cells of the same structure and function. When there are cells of the same cells that have similar structure and function, they form what we call tissue. Exactly. When we have cells of the same structure and function will form what we call tissue. Cells of the same structure and what? Function. Cells of the same structure and what? Function. Example of this is the xylem. You know what the xylem is? The xylem is seen in plants. Another example is the what? Phloem. Another example is bone. These are bones. The bones are tissue. Another example is what we call cartilage. Is that clear? Cartilage. Now, they also have surface area to volume. This is actually big. This is large surface area to volume. The surface area to volume ratio for tissue is lesser than that of cell. Is that clear? This one has the highest surface area to volume ratio. This one has lesser. Now we'll go to the third level of organization known as the organ. Known as the what? Organ. Now, when you have tissue, you understand? Performing group of tissue that come together to perform the same what? Function. They form what we call what? Organ. You see that in the first level we say that when you have more than one cell that perform the same function and they have similar structure, they form the word tissue. Now when more tissue that perform similar function come together, they form what we call what? Organ. See, from here you get to this one, then you get to the third level. So what are the examples of organs? Examples of organs is what? The eye. The eye is the organ for what? Sight. Is the organ for what? Sight. We have the what? Ear. The ear is the organ for what? Hearing. We have kidney. Is that clear? So these are organs. Now finally, the fourth generation. Finally, the what? Fourth level of organization. Fourth level is when several what? Organs act together. They form what we call what? Systems. When several organs act together to perform specific function, they act together to form system, performing what? A specific function. Is that clear? Example is what would like the transport system. You know the transport system is involved in blood circulation. Then we'll talk about digestive system. We'll talk about the muscular system and the circulatory system. You understand? So all those ones are systems. I will say that systems are made up of what? Organs. Systems are made up of what? Organs. Organs are made up of what? Tissue. Isn't it? Organs are made up of what? Tissues. Tissues are made up of what? Cells. Tissues are made up of what? Cells. So these are the levels of what? Organization. The cell has the highest surface area to what? Volume ratio. Followed by what? Tissues. Followed by what? Organs. And followed by what? System. So these are the four levels of organization of life. The cell, the tissue, the organ, and the what? System. When similar cells function together to perform similar function, we call them what? Tissue. When several tissue come together to perform specific function, we call it what? Organ. Then when some organ or several organs come together to perform specific function, we call it what? System. So if you look at transport system, you see that transport system has many organs that come together to form the transport system. Is that clear? Then when you go to the eye, you see that the eye has plenty tissue, different tissues in the eye. Is that clear? And when you go to the bone, you see that the bone is made up of plenty cells. Is that clear? But the smallest is the what? Cell. That's why we say that the cell is the smallest single unit of what? Life. The cell is the smallest single unit of life. That's why when the sperm cell is still a cell. It's very small. It's a cell. But when it meets with the ovum, it forms the fetus. Is that clear? At the level of the fetus, it's no longer in the level of cell because it has metamorphosed into greater cell organization. So the 4 levels of life organization, we talk about the cell, tissue, organ, and what? Systems. Is that clear? So please carry on.